Welcome to Praying Through the Bible, number 20, Genesis 37 through 50, a prayer evident life. No prayers of Joseph or conversational interactions between him and God are recorded in Genesis. Neither do we find examples of calling on the name of the Lord or altar building. Profoundly found are Joseph interpreting dreams, showing God communicated with him. Confusing me, there are verses stating Joseph uses a cup in divination, Genesis 44, 5 and 15. But divination is condemned, Deuteronomy 18:10 and 1 Samuel 15:23. Now, admittedly, these prohibitions come later in the law, and Joseph is not under the law of Moses. The scene in Genesis 44 where this divination is mentioned is a scene of testing his brothers using this silver cup or bowl. Is it just a prop? Or does Joseph use pagan forms of fortune telling? Or strangely, because Joseph is in a strange land and strange circumstances, does he use the methods of his surroundings in seeking the will of the true God? Laban claims he used divination with Yahweh, Genesis 30, verse 27. Then again, can we trust what Laban says? This is getting more complicated than I want, but maybe Joseph is more complicated than I thought. If I don't include Joseph in these Praying Through the Bible episodes, I am excluding 28% of Genesis. If I do include Joseph, one, it would not be just because Joseph is a type of Christ, sold for silver and resurrected out of the pit and lifted to a powerful throne, second place, second in power. It would not be just because Genesis emphasizes Joseph as much as Abraham and even more than Jacob and Isaac, although Joseph is not an ancestor of Jesus. If I do include Joseph, it would be because it is evident prayer is an intricate part, an essential aspect of his life. How could he survive without prayer? Without prayer, how could Joseph emotionally survive the violence of being stripped of his varied colored coat, thrown into a waterless pit, endure the callousness of his brothers sitting around said pit eating, and being betrayed by family? Genesis 37, 23 through 28. Could I survive family dysfunction without prayer? Without prayer, how could Joseph have strength to withstand the sexual allures of his master's wife, unwilling to betray his owner or his God, and then survive being falsely accused, convicted, and punished? Chapter 39. Could I survive the lusts and the lies without prayer? Without prayer, how could imprisoned Joseph retain the character and fortitude to again rise in the ranks, unselfishly helping Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker by interpreting their dreams, all along crediting God, and yet suffering from the forgetfulness of the cupbearer for 2 years? Chapter 40. Could I survive being forgotten without prayer? Without prayer, how could Joseph interpret Pharaoh's dreams, impressing him so as to be raised for the third time to second in command? Raised. Third. Ruling the kingdom of his enslavement while again always glorifying God. How could he do all these things without prayer? Could I survive the success without prayer? Without prayer, how could Joseph, after 22 years of separation from his family, learn to forgive, not grow bitter, find providential rule in his life while accepting God planned his family's evil for good? Chapter 42 through 50. Could I survive being used by God without prayer? If I do include Joseph, it's because, although recorded, evidently he survives by prayer. Do we? Here's our prayer challenge. Examine our lives honestly. This itself requires prayer. Even without observers seeing us pray, do they see prayer in the way that we react to family, success, disappointment, pain, suffering, betrayal, bitterness, lies, and life? Start praying. This has been Praying Through the Bible, number 20, Genesis 37 through 50. If this has been a blessing to you, please share. And you can also find all these videos on YouTube. Thank you.